Hello my friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks workshop. My regular viewers know that I like to do metal detecting, and I find a lot of rusty stuff here on the farm. Take this hammer for instance. This has an H on one end and an S on another end. This is from a bygone era of loggers, and I think they use this to mark the end of the log with an S for softwood or an H for hardwood. That's what I think. Here's another little axe head. People call these a shingle hammer or whatever, but we used to use these all the time fixing fence, and I bet the farmers on this farm probably used it for fence more than for shingles, but could have been for both. Here's another little tiny hammer. All of these things are well over 100 years old. And here's another big axe head. I found, I think, 9 or 10 axe heads at this point. The point is, they're all very, very rusty. And my friends at CrewWorks sent me an electrolytic rust removal tool. And here's what it looks like. It's a plastic container. And here's some of the other components. Here's the big control unit. This looks really nice. Haven't yet taken it out or tried it out, so it's all brand new. There's another little bag of components here. Here is a bar. I'm not sure what that's for. We'll have to get into the directions and figure out what all this stuff is for. So let me open up this little bag of other items and see what we've got in there. Looks like we've got some cables, which I would expect, a positive and a negative type cable. Looks like we have some other little strapping going on here, some hooks, and then this rod. So let me get into the directions and figure out how we're going to use this, and we'll see if we can't get the rust off of some of these fine old antiques. Well, my friends, through the magic of YouTube, it is the next morning. And I have got this container mostly full of pretty warm water, not hot water, just good and warm. I've got 102 grams of baking soda here, and I'm going to pour this into this water. And I'm going to stir it up a little bit. And I'll just use their stainless steel rod to stir it up with. It looks like that's pretty thoroughly mixed. One of the things that they talk about with their controller is that the red is the anode and the black is the cathode. You want to connect the stainless steel rod to the anode, which is the positive side. So I've got the stainless steel rod. We're going to connect that up to this. I think I'm going to stick it through this hole here, actually. I think it's perfect. Anyway, that holds the stainless steel rod over here. Maybe you can see that I've got the rod clamped to this thing. We'll give you a better look at it here in a minute. They also say to knock some of the rust off so that you make good contact. Well, I've taken a file and I've gone in here and I've rubbed the inside of this so that, you know, hopefully we got at least the heavy rust off. And I'm going to take this copper wire that they give you, run that through there, do it like this, and then I'll probably hook it on this hook right here and suspend it down inside. Well, it just hangs a little lower than I want. Maybe I could wrap this wire through twice. That would be better. Just barely hangs below the surface. I'll show you that here in a second. And then we can hook up the cathode, which is the negative, to this. And I think, again, I'll just go through this hole and make a good connection. As far as I know, that's all you have to do. It's very simple. Okay, the directions on using this voltage and all this are a little bit vague. I now have the unit plugged in and I'm going to power it on. It says to rotate the voltage to an appropriate level. Well, I don't know what that is. It says if you're using a large container, the maximum is 24 volts. If you're using a small container, maybe you don't want to go that high. It already says it's at 24.3, so I'm going to leave it there. This is a timer, so I'm going to select about an hour. So we have an hour on the timer. We have the voltage up to 24 volts. I can already see a lot of bubbling going on. Let me show you that to you. So here's what it looks like. You can see that the anode is bubbling, and the cathode, which is the part that we're trying to clean, is really bubbling also. So the part has very tiny micro bubbles. This one has much larger bubbles, but obviously it's doing something. We've got it set for an hour because that's a pretty rusted piece, and we will just see how well it does. Okay, it's only been a few minutes, but I thought I'd show you the readouts here. We have 2.5 amps at 23.9 volts. It's almost 2.6 amps. I have this maxed out. Now it's up to 2.6, so it keeps increasing on this as it goes. The timer is obviously counting back. It's only been a minute or so, so it's not been very long at all. Reasonably impressed at what I'm seeing so far. Everything is working just like it should, and the water's actually starting to darken up just a tiny bit. I'll give it a few minutes and give you another update. Well, my friends, it's been about 15 minutes by the timer here. You can see the water is slightly darker. You can see the bubbles are still pretty much coming off of the rusted piece. The bubbles have gotten smaller and reduced a little bit on the anode piece. Other thing is that the voltage and amperages has remained about the same. The amperage did get up to over 2.6 for a little while there, but now it's dropped back down to 2.5. My guess is that's a conductivity thing. It's doing its thing, so we'll come back when this is finished and see what it looks like. We've got about 10 minutes more to go out of the hour, so it's been about 50 minutes. I can actually see rust actually falling off and hitting the bottom of the bucket there. I don't know if an hour is enough time for something as heavily rusted as this was, but we'll soon see. Once we get the full hour completed, we will take it out and clean it off a little bit. Okay, my friends, I got a little tied up there, and you can see that the timer has hit 0, so I'm going to turn the power off, and I'm also going to unplug the unit just to be safe. And now we're going to take it out of here and see what it did. All right, so let's take it out of the solution here and see if it really did anything. You know, this is pretty rusted, so I wasn't expecting miracles. Alright, so I got a couple paper towels here. We'll wipe it off. Wow, the rust is just falling off of it. That part's good. In fact, I'll just set the trash can up here and then take a little wire brush, a little light, small wire brush, and just scrape this off and see what comes off. Wow, I think that did a pretty good job overall. I mean, I think it needs more time, but it did better than I thought it would do. Oh, that's working pretty nice. There's that side, and I'll compare it to this side. Look at the rust all over that. And look at how clean this is. There's still some rust on it, don't get me wrong. But, you know, again, I didn't know anything about it. It's my first rodeo, so I didn't know how long to leave it in there. We only left it in there an hour. It looks like it's really flaking off pretty good. I think if we gave it another... After this cleaning, give it another 30 minutes, and I think this thing's going to be really nice. Definitely better than I thought it would be. I think you have to clean it off pretty quickly too, because it starts to dry. It's pretty warm. I'm going to call that a success, and I think we're going to do this again, and we'll show you the results of that at a later time. Well, my friends, I had a lot more to do this afternoon, so I didn't get back to working on this till just now. So it's been many hours. I'm going to wrap this baby up again, put it in the solution again, and see how it goes. I'll use the same technique of putting the copper wire through here, wrapping it through twice. So now we've got her all hung there. All right, so I plugged in the machine. I'm going to turn it on and then turn the timer. I think I'm going to turn it for another 60 minutes. As you can see there, when it first starts, it's got 24 volts, but it's only, well, now it's going up to 2.3. It was like 1 point something. So the amperage is starting to come through. I can see the cathode and anode starting to bubble. I think I'm going to go get and put a little more baking soda in this water because it's been sitting a while. So I've got another 30 grams of baking soda here, and I'm just going to sprinkle it around. And we'll see how well that does this time. We're going to give it our hour and we'll come back and show you. Well, my friends, it's been another hour and the timer has turned off and I just unplugged it. We're going to take it out of here and see if it made any more progress. I think that first time really did a good job. I'm not so sure if it doesn't look like it did that much more this time, but let's see. Yeah, actually it still did, I think. It did. It's loosening it up. Look at how it's just peeling it off of there. I think that's doing a pretty good job, so let's just see if we can knock some more of this off. It's really loosened it up, I think. It's really done a nice job, I think. I think it probably needs yet a third round in this because it's really knocked off the heavy stuff. I'm pleasantly surprised with the results we're getting. I didn't really know what to expect, but I think that looks pretty good. You can tell that that's nice and solid. I mean, it's got some pitting in it, but the metal is solid. There's still some heavy flaking rust up in here. And I think I'm going to try one more bath and maybe call that good. It'd be nice if I could get inside this thing and clean it out a little bit more. Trying to knock off the heaviest chunks to give it the best chance for one more try. Okay, I've put it in one more time, got 50 more minutes I'm going to let it go to, and we're going to see if we can get the final little bit of rust off this thing. I thought it was interesting that this is the most foaming action I've seen. The water is even cloudy, and the voltage is higher, 3.84. Now, it might be because I've got that axe head cleaned off a little bit more this time. Seems like it's doing really well this time. Hopefully, this will be the last time we immerse it. That's definitely the highest amperage I've seen, 3.92, so it's really doing something this time. We've still got about 30 minutes left, so it's been going about 20 minutes this time. I just think it's cool that the water is completely cloudy this time compared to the other times, and there is a lot of bubble action going on above the axe this time. Hopefully this is going to fix her up where she's going to be really nice. We're on the third and final time, and you can see the amperage is up to 413. Doing a lot of foaming action. I'm just really hoping that this time will be the sweet spot. Regardless, this is going to be the last one that I do for this particular tool, and I have some other things that we're going to try, and you can see that the timer just kicked off, so let's turn it off and let's check it out and see how good it did this time. I'm going to unplug it just to be safe. Well, it really doesn't look too bad. Never used this process before. I would say I'm pleasantly surprised. And I'm just trying to clean up the last heavy spots. You know, what's really weird is that it's not sharp, but it's cleaned it up down to a pretty decent edge. Overall, it's pretty good. There's still a few places that I'd like to clean up a little bit, but they're just minimal now. My plan is to make a nice handle for this and restore this one back into usable condition, because it's very good shape, really. It's got some use to it. You can see that. It's been used heavily. But that's what makes it cool, because the last time this thing was used was probably 100 years ago, if not much more than that. I mean, it could have been 150 years ago or more. That really looks pretty darn nice. I'm going to clean it up on my wire wheel and then oil it up, and I'll show you what that looks like. Well, let's run this through the wire wheel and see how well it looks. By the way, there's no more important thing to wear than these safety glasses when you're using a wire wheel, because it throws wires out constantly. I've had them stick in my arms. That part doesn't bother me, but I don't want these going in my eye. There's what it looked like before. Of course, I did that a little bit, but there, give you an idea of the before, and there's the after. So it looks pretty darn good. Well, there you go, my friends. That looks pretty darn nice. There's a lot of pitting on it, as you can see, but that's what happens after you leave something in the ground for 150 years or however long this has been there. I would bet it's probably been well over 100 years, just because I know most of the stuff I have found in this location has been from the late 1800s. It's pretty neat to be able to reclaim something like this and actually put it back to use. I'll make a video down the road of putting a handle in this. Hope you'll enjoy that as well. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you.